Hi, good evening everyone. Today's topic will be the import sets. Like the name itself states that we are importing something or in the form of sets. Let's see what is import sets and how it is useful in ServiceNow to load data from external sources into ServiceNow. We use import sets tool, okay, or application. If you want to load any data from external sources into ServiceNow tables or ServiceNow database, then we can use this application called import sets or tool called import sets. And we have something called as, then when we come to this import sets, we need to learn some three things. The first thing will be staging area. Second one is transform map. And next thing we have called as some data source. Before that, we need to learn here the data source. The first one will be data source. And second one will be staging area. And third one will be transform map. And we have other things we'll discuss later regarding those things. The data source is where we are getting the data from different sources. ServiceNow will have some different types of data, like it can allow the Excel data or Excel, the tables and rows columns data, along with plain text, along with XML files data. It supports multiple types of files. Like this, go for data source. We will use to process the data from any of the external sources, like it may be Excel or CSV files or plain text. We have something called as plain text or integration. Okay, these are the things which are supported by ServiceNow. Like Excel, we can import the data from Excel sheet if you have the data, and we have CSV formats, and if you have the plain text, or you can go for integration, okay, into ServiceNow application or ServiceNow tables. It's called data source. These are the data sources which are majorly supported by ServiceNow while importing data into ServiceNow system or ServiceNow database or ServiceNow application. And next thing we have staging area, or it's called as staging table. Like staging table is meant for storing, or it may be called as load the data for temporary purpose or temporary time. Temporary time, nothing but duration. Majorly we hold the data for major 7 days. Like regarding the temporary time, I'm just mentioning the time what we are using in my current organization is 7 days. The staging area or nothing but staging table is meant for load the data or store the data for temporary time called 7 days. For example, if you have the data in the Excel sheet, if you directly import the data directly into the ServiceNow application, then we may face some conflicts, or we may face some complexity while going towards the data. Before going to that, first we'll go taking the data from Excel and we'll store the data into staging table, and then we transform the data from source to staging and staging table to target table. Okay, let's go for the transform map. What is transform map here? Transform map is a tool which is used to transform the data from source to the target table. Like tool to transform the data from source to target table. Okay, and beyond that we have some other things, like we have import set table and we have some transform of history and everything. We'll see further in the real time in the PJ. Okay, let's see. Here I'm importing data of user table, like user table data I'm importing in the form of Excel sheet. Like we have the data in the Excel, where I open the Excel sheet here. Like you can see the first name, last name, department, user ID, position, contact number, and email address. And here I am trying to import this data into my ServiceNow user table. Okay, if I open the users list view, you can see like we have 632 user accounts here, which are already existing. The first thing, like the first format to import the data is go to the filter navigator. Like here we are loading the data. Like just go for load data, and under system import sets we have the load data here. The first and foremost part, like the first step, what we are doing, I'll write the stepwise here so it can be easy for your process while explaining in the interview. The first step will be go for load data, which is under system import sets. Okay, then we'll go for second point, click on load data, and it will show a menu regarding what we are doing to import. Okay, it is called load data page, where it shows the import set table along with source of import. Like import set table is nothing but the staging table what we are creating, because we don't directly dump the complete data from Excel sheet to the target table, and we are going to store the data in the staging table called as import set table. It's called as a temporary table also sometimes in some organizations, and we call it as staging table, where it holds the data for only 7 days. In my organization, it differs from different organizations. And here we need to create a new table, or you can select the existing table if you have. I don't have any staging table till now in my instance. I'm just selecting this create table option here and enter the name here. Like I just mentioned as some staging table B26 is my staging table name. Okay, you can select name is automatically populated, the backend name, and it is a label. And here it is asking like source of import. The first one is file, second one is data source. Right now I don't have any data source till now. I am having the file in the form of Excel sheet. Just close this Excel sheet and select here option called choose file. Click on choose file, and it asks you to go for the data of user profiles. And here it is asking like sheet number and header row here. Okay, sheet number is number one sheet because the data is present only in the sheet number one. And when, like where to start count the data. For example, if I open this sheet, right now the data is starting from the first row itself, like the first name, last name, the names here and the last names here. If you mention this data by second line, like the data will start from second number here. You can directly mention number 2 here called header row is number 2. Because I selected this Excel sheet before that it was number 1. That's why I just mentioning as sheet number 1 and header row number 1. Just click on submit. Don't do anything. Just click on submit. Like after clicking on submit, it shows like state name is import processor, state is complete, and completion code is success. And you can see like message, how many are processed, how many are inserted, how many are updated, how many are errors, and how many are empty and ignored. Okay, you can see like how many time it like how much time it takes to import the data is this 1 second 0.578 milliseconds. Okay, and the next steps will be import sets, loaded data, and create transform map and import log. Okay, and if you go for import sets, it shows the data what it is imported. Just click on this import sets, and it is called the import set number, like the naming convention. We see like for incident INC, for problem PRB, for import set we see like ISET. ISET stands for import set. Open this ISET or import set, and it will show like how many seconds it will run, like load runtime, the name, the state, the data source, the import set table, like where we imported the data and what it stated, like where it is stated. And you can see like these are the import set rows here, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like combined, these are 6. And if you come back, You can see like if you go for filter navigator and if you go for load data again, if I create the same table or go for existing table, like our table, imported table is which one? Staging table B26 file. I'll just close this part. Select this data of user profiles, click on submit. And again, it goes for the same staging table. Processed is 6, insert is 6, updates is 0. Go for loaded data for checking which data is loaded. And the major part align is create transform map. Creates a transform map for the newly staged data. Click on this link and it will redirect to you to create the transform map in ServiceNow tables. It is taking time. Click on cancel. Okay, fine. And it is called the transform map in ServiceNow. It's called new record in the transform map table. And here you need to mention the name, what we want to mention for the transform map, like demo of TM transfer map B26. It's my name of the transfer map table name. And we have the source table, like called the staging table we created. And here it is showing active. If you want to run any business rule, like it may be before, after, async and display, then if you want to execute some business rules which are already applied, then click on this checkbox. If not, ignore this button. Okay, I'm just adding this button for the purpose. And here we have some enforce mandatory fields here. We'll come to that later regarding this enforce mandatory fields, copy empty fields, create new record and empty coalesce fields. And application scope is global. And created date will automatically populated after saving this record. And if you want to transform this data from staging table to the target table, we need to select the target table where we want to store the data. Like I am storing the data in the user table because the Excel sheet consists of the data of users records. Go for selecting the user table here, and the order is, if the order is minimal, it executes first. If the order value is more than that, it executes in the last. And if you want to enable any script, just select this option called run script and it enables you to the script section here. Okay, we'll discuss this part later. Ignore this for right now. Before going to that, just save this record. I have just given for only the name and the target table, and that's it. I haven't created anything or I haven't read anything regarding this form. Just save this record. After saving this record, you will get some related lists here. If you come towards the bottom of the page, we'll get some these records called field maps and transform scripts here. Okay. And before going to that, we have one option. The option is called auto map matching fields. This option enables you to match the staging table data with user table data. Okay. If there are some fields which are already matching with the name, then it automatically maps the data. Like we see some match the following in our childhood. If I click on auto mapping matching fields, like I can see only one or two fields will be matched with the same name. I think department will be mapped. Come down to the bottom of the page. Yeah, we have only department which is only mapped. And then go for mapping assist to assist other things, like to map the other things. Like it's called manual and it's called auto mapping. Sometimes for some data, auto mapping will map all the fields, majorly for up to 90%. Here in our case, we have only one field which is already mapped. Like from the source field, U underscore department, and the target field, the department field has been mapped here. Go for mapping assist, and you can select the staging table here and the user table here. These are the columns of user table. These are the columns from the staging table. We need to map these fields according to the names. For example, if I go for position, like position is something called as um, let me open the user form here. It's called title. Okay, we need to map with the title. Go for the title. And next thing we have something called as user ID, and user ID is same here. And we have contact number, and in the user table we have something called as mobile phone, like go for mobile phone. We have department, which is already mapped here. Go for email address, and we have something called email in our user table. And we have first name, go for the first name here. And we have the last name, and map with the last name. And we have filled all the details here, like we don't have any further fields here. Any field position we have. Okay, that's it. We don't have any other fields here. Just click on save after mapping all the fields. For example, by mistakenly you selected like for the last name to the first name to the last name, you can drag and drop by using this key. Or you can use these options to add and remove. For example, if you want to remove this last name, remove this last name. If you want to add again, using this arrow keys, you can add this part. Okay. And after matching all these things, it's called the mapping assist. Click on save. Then automatically the staging table columns will map with the current user table. And you can see in the bottom of the page, like user ID is referred to the username, last name is referred for the last name. And as it is, the staging table is created by the user. Like these are the user defined tables. And we have the u underscore as a prefix here for each and every field. And we are mapping these fields towards the target table called the user table. And next we have something called as coalesce field, like it's pronounced as two things like coalesce or coalesce. Like coalesce is a field which acts as primary key. In this data, we have the primary key called user ID, or you can mention as some email address, or you can go for contact number called mobile phone. If you want to make any field as primary key, just make it as true. Okay. Then if you make coalesce as true for any single field, then it acts as primary key. For example, if any user consists of like duplicate user IDs, for example, we have something called as user called Sharath, which is already with the user name called Sharath1313. If it is already there with the same name, it ignores this record and it is updates the record. It doesn't create a new record in the ServiceNow table. Okay. Coalesce acts as primary key, which makes the column as unique. Like right now, we have user ID as a unique column here. Then after mapping all the fields and making a field as coalesce true, and then we have something called as transform here. Click on transform, then automatically the data will transform from the staging table to the target table after clicking on transform here. Here we have the demo of transform map here. Click on transform, and then in fraction of seconds, the table data will be transferred from the staging table to the target table. Okay. Let's see the user table here. Go back. Like you can see, like we have 638 user accounts here, which are done by using this. Like DK, we have Dinesh Karthik and Shravan, Kiran, Bhaskar, Pawan Kumar, and Pawan Kalyan. Okay. And these are the records which are derived from using the import sets. Like after completing these 9 steps, like when we want to import the data from external sources into ServiceNow system, then these are the steps like loading data, create the import set table, or it may be called as staging table or temporary table. And after loading data into iset table is nothing but import set table. And we need to create the transform map first. And then we need to select some options there, like where we want to import the data into target table. And we need to create like auto map assist will be available for the automating process, and mapping assist for the manual process to map the fields from the source to the target table. And later we have the coalesce fields, which makes the fields as primary key and makes the record as unique. And we need to click on transform to transform the data from the staging table to the target table. And after that, we need to check the target table for the data which is already imported by using all this process. Okay. Then after that, we have something to be discussed like major parts. We have something called as run business rule. Let me go for the options and copy here. Run business rules. Run business rule is an option where it allows you to run the business rules in the backend if you are applying for the business rule tables. Like, let me write it. If you select, or if you make it as true, if you select checkbox as true, then the first one will be, it will enable all the business rules which are applying in the backend. Okay. Like all business rules which are applied on the target table will be run in the backend while importing or while transforming. Okay. Then the second option will be enforce mandatory fields. Here we have this option. Like we have only two options here. The first one is yes, second one is no. You can check here in the form. We have only two fields like no, only mapped fields, all fields. Go for only mapped fields first. No, or only mapped fields and all fields. Okay. If you mention enforce mandatory fields as no, for example, if you mention no here, like I'll just write it here, no here. Like if I mention no here, enforcing is nothing but if you are transferring the data from the source table to the target table, if enforcing data is mentioned as no here, then it will not create any record for the mandatory fields if you don't mention any mandatory data in the columns. For example, in the user data, we don't have any column which is already mandatory. For suppose user ID is mandatory, if I am missing the user ID for a record in the Excel sheet, then enforce mandatory fields if you mention is as no, then it will ignore the data. Like if you have the data or not, then it will enforce the data without getting into database. If you go for only mapped fields, for example, if you ignore this field while mapping, we have two things like mapping auto assist and mapping assist here. If you ignore regarding this mandatory fields, or like if you mention them mapping with the same source table to the target table, then it works for only this mapped fields. Then if you go for all fields, then it checks for all the fields which are mandatory. If you select this all fields option, then without entering any mandatory field value, no record will be entered into the database. Okay. If you mention no is ignore. Only mapped fields is works for only mapped fields. Like it works for only the fields which are only mapped. If you go for all fields, works on all fields. Like if any data is allowed without the mandatory field, then it can't be in the database of ServiceNow tables. Got it? The next thing will be copy empty fields. Okay. If you place the mouse point on the top, it is showing us check this to be copy empty source fields and override existing target field values. Copy this part. Like if I mention true for copy empty fields, like we have only true or false here. Like I'll just go for true and what is false. If I mention copy empty fields true is copy the empty fields without data also. The empty field is nothing but the columns which doesn't consist of any data. If you mention false, like doesn't copy, doesn't allow to copy the empty fields with data. Okay. The next thing we have something called as create new record on empty Coalesce fields. Okay. Copy. Like we have two things, like two formats here, true or false, the same part, like true, like false. If I mention true for this part, like if I mention this option as true, like if I check this box, then it will create a new record on empty Coalesce fields. For example, if user ID is missing in the data, but we mention the user ID as Coalesce field, then what should we need to do for empty Coalesce fields? We have an option called create new record on empty Coalesce fields, like true or false. If you mention true, it will create a new record for empty Coalesce fields. Okay. Then same thing it applies regarding false also. It won't allow you to create a new field. It will not allow you to create. Okay. Then we have something called next thing, run script here. Run script is used to run the script if you want to write any script here. In the transform, like import sets, we have separate scripts for it. Allows you to write the script if applicable. Okay. Like we have something called Coalesce field. I need to write something regarding Coalesce, like COA, sorry, COLESC, Coalesce fields. Like it is used to make a column as primary key or an unique format. And if anybody asks regarding the Coalesce fields, makes a field or column as primary key. Okay. Like generally this question will comes regarding in the interview, like what is Coalesce fee, and it is makes to as an primary key. Uh, Restrict the duplicate records insertion, and then you can or you can set Coalesce true for multiple fields, Coalesce as true for multiple fields. It should satisfy all the fields which are mentioned as true for execution. If you want to mention multiple coalesce as true, but they should satisfy all the fields conditions or all coalesce as true, then it will goes for as true for execution part. And then regarding as it is case sensitive, like they may ask some questions like it is also a case sensitive. By default, coalesce fields, coalesce is case sensitive, but we can make it if you want. Okay, these are the things majorly asked in the interview, like what is Coalesce fee, how it is working, and what is the main purpose of it, and we can make Coalesce true for multiple fields or not. And then we have something called as scripts here. Regarding we have run script here. What script it allows you to write in the run script module or the application. We have something called as transform scripts. It's an advanced topic. Like, well, I'll do some videos regarding this part in the future. So how can we use this transform scripts? Like, we have something called as 7 transform scripts here. The first one will be on start, like on before, on after, on complete, on choice create, on reject, and seventh one is on foreign insert. These are the majorly used transform scripts in the transform maps if you want to run any script here. Okay, it is a complex script. Like, if you want to know understand regarding on start, on before, on after, like, I'll just go with the glimpse. Like, on start executes this transform scripts when we start loading the data, or before loading the data it starts executing. On before is nothing but before data is importing into ServiceNow table, it will execute. On after is nothing but it executes the logic or the script after transforming the data from source table to the target table. On complete is nothing but after completion of each and everything of transform map, then it will execute. We have some choice create. If you want to create any choice create script here, we also have this on choice create transform script. And if it is rejected, we can go for reject script here if it is any data is rejected. And if you want to insert other than what in the source table, we can use this on foreign insert. Okay, we'll do a separate video on this for your information.